Hi guys, and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to share the birth story of my daughter Ellie. She was born on October 23rd, 2019. I found out I was pregnant with her in February and my due date was October 26th. I was technically a high-risk pregnancy because my BMI was over 40, but otherwise I had a very healthy pregnancy. But because of that, they wanted to induce me at 39 weeks, so I did not run into any complications. So I fell 39 weeks pregnant on October 19th, which was on a Saturday, and they do not schedule inductions for the weekend, so they scheduled me the following Monday on the 21st at 7 p.m. I plan on working my last shift at work, coming home, taking a shower, and then going to have a baby. However, that did not work out as planned because as soon as I got home, the labor and delivery nurse called me and said someone had just came in active labor and she had a nurse call in sick for the night, so I'd have to come in at 7 a.m. the following morning. So me and Chase decided to eat dinner with my dad and just relax for the evening. We did set our alarm for 5 in the morning so we could leave the house at 6. We were an hour away from the hospital, so we could arrive at 7. When we got there, we had to register and check in and sign all of our consent forms, and then the nurse showed us to our room. And at my hospital, I got to labor, deliver, and recover in the same room, which was nice. So when we got in the room, I changed into my gown and she set up my IV, which was very painful. I had never been in the hospital, never gotten an IV. I had only gotten blood drawn at this point in time in my life. So having a baby gave me a whole new experience. And I was crying from the IV at 8 in the morning before my induction process even started. So I was in for it for the day, I believed. So my doctor came in and checked me, and I was only a fingertip dilated, and my cervix was still thick and high. So they started me on Cytotec, and how that works is it's a little pill inserted into your cervix to thin it out and start contractions. And for Cytotec, you can get up to 4 doses every 4 hours. Some people don't need all 4 doses, but in my case I did because I just wasn't ready. So I got my first dose at 8:30, and you have to lay in bed for an hour so it doesn't fall out. So that was pretty rough because I didn't like sitting still, but I did try to rest. When you are induced, though, you have to have external monitoring. So I had 2 straps on my belly. One was to monitor the baby and one was to monitor any contractions. And every time you tried to flip or move to get comfortable, the baby would move. So the nurses would have to come in and readjust the monitor to be placed on the baby properly. So that was rough trying to rest that morning. My mom ended up coming around lunchtime, bringing lunch, and I was so excited to have her there with me. My next dose was due at 12:30. And my second dose, that's when I started to feel like period type cramps, but nothing too crazy. And then my third dose at 4:30, that's when things kind of started to kick it up a notch. I was very uncomfortable. I couldn't sit in bed any longer. I wanted to get up and walk around, or I bounced on the yoga ball quite a bit for a little while. And I had Chase massage my back. And that's when things started to get a little blurry for me because the pain was getting worse. So they offered me Stadol, which is a IV pain medication, and it kind of made me feel like real loopy. And Mom and Chase said I was like saying weird things, like I was at work. So I think they got to laugh at me at that point. You can only get so much Stadol, I think 3 or 4 doses every hour or so. And the first dose worked like a charm. The second dose worked, but wasn't as great as the first. And then by the third third or fourth dose, like it did not even touch my pain. So it got pretty intense for me there. My dad ended up coming to visit in the evening time. He was just going to visit, but he ended up staying for a while. So that was when, like, he showed up when my labor was getting really intense, and him and Chase were just like clammed up, not knowing what to do, not knowing how to help me. Luckily, I had my mom right there by my side. She coached me through all the contractions and breathed with me, and that was so helpful. I'm very, very thankful I had her by me, because Chase was no help whatsoever. He didn't know what to do. I think it really freaked him out. But yeah, it was me, Mom, Chase, and Dad. And then around midnight, it was finally to the point where I could get an epidural. So Chase and Dad stepped out because Mom was my coach at that point in time. And you could only have one person in the room to get an epidural. And like, it was, oh goodness, here baby, here. It was pretty intense. Like, I could not breathe because it was so painful. Hey, baby. Oh, look. So, the anesthesiologist said you have to be very still, because you have to like do it right for it to work the right way. So I knew I had to like tough it out and just stay as still as possible. The epidural was a breeze compared to those contractions. I didn't feel anything, and it worked like within a few minutes. I felt so much relief. And then I just remember I could finally rest because the epidural was amazing. So it's midnight, and they decided to turn on the Pitocin to get me progressing, because I was still not dilating how I should be. And the Pitocin made baby's heart rate drop, so they had to turn it off, and they had to switch me in different positions to get her like moved down. So I have an epidural, and they had to flip me so I could get on hands and knees to get her like down in the birth canal. And like, it was crazy not being able to feel my body, and they're flipping me in all these different positions. But finally everything was where it should have been. My goodness. Oh, and my doctor came and broke my water at 3 in the morning. And then she came back at 4 in the morning to just see how much I had progressed. And she said I was at an 8, but I was a 9 when I was contracting. So I texted my mom, because her and my dad ended up going to rest in the car because there wasn't enough comfortable chairs in the room. So she was like, okay, we'll head that way. We thought it would be very soon. And then I just kind of rested still. I was still feeling good from the epidural. And I remember my night nurse coming in, and she was supposed to be leaving at 7 in the morning. That's when her shift would end. So she came in at 6 to check me. And I was like, that sucks. You've been with me while I've been so crazy, and you won't even get to see the baby be born. And she's like, I don't know, we'll see. So she checked me, and she said, no, I think you're ready. We're going to do a couple practice pushes. So that's 6 o'clock. Mom's by my side. Dad's in the chair, and Chase is in the pull-out couch, and they're both asleep. So it's just me and Mom right now. And so I was doing my practice pushes, and she's like, okay, are you ready to start pushing? And I was like, Chase, it's time to start pushing. So they like wake up, and they're getting the bed broke down and everything prepped. And there was a nurse for me, like coaching me through pushing. And then there was a nurse for her for when she came out. And I did 3 sets of pushes. I started at 6:10, and I did 3 sets of pushes. And on my last push, she said, stop pushing. And like, it kind of freaked me out because she got real serious. And then she turned to the nurse and she said, "Run now." And so, because the doctor wasn't in there, it was just the nurses at that point. And I guess the baby was right there. And so she's like, "Okay, I think I'm going to have you push." And so I pushed one last time. And the doctor walked in as I was delivering the baby. So a nurse delivered my baby. But yeah, she was placed on my chest and they wiped her off a little bit. And I guess she was not breathing properly because she came out so fast that she had swallowed amniotic fluid. So they had to take her off me and put her on the cart, and they called it a PEEP machine to get her breathing regulated. And they only did that for a few minutes and she was fine. And she was placed back on my chest and I got to do skin to skin. Chase did get to cut the cord when she came out. And I mean, it was amazing. So after I gave birth, my parents decided to give me and Chase some privacy so we could bond with the baby a little bit, and they went to the cafeteria and got some breakfast and brought it back to us. But I was not worried about breakfast at that point in time. I just wanted to hold and love on my baby. And then we just kind of rested for the first morning portion. And then she got her first bath and did all her newborn testing, and she was perfect on that. The only thing that was really wrong is her bilirubin levels were high, so she had jaundice. So we had to stay. I don't know if they would have let me out that afternoon since I had her so early, but because her bilirubin, we had to wait until the next day to get those checked again. And it was still kind of high, but not high enough to have to do any UV light or anything. So they discharged us on October 24th, the afternoon, and I got to bring my baby home, and that was so special. I loved every second of that. I was scary bringing home a baby, but it was nice finally being at home and just being in your comfort zone instead of the hospital, because I mean, I'm a first time mom. I didn't know what to expect. I felt like I was doing stuff wrong, and sometimes just like the nurses would make me feel uncomfortable and stuff, like I was not doing things right. But it was good. We did have to go that Saturday, the 26th, my due date, to get her bilirubin levels checked again, and those were perfect then, so we did not have to go back. And she's just been a growing little weed ever since. Oh, she was 6 pounds, 11 ounces, 21 inches long, so she was little. They anticipated me having a bigger baby because of my BMI being over 40, but she was kind of little, like she was fragile. But yeah, here's my little Ellie. She's just hanging out in oh my goodness, she makes new noises all the time. But yeah, she is 6 months old now. So that's the story of her coming into the world. All right, there you go. Thanks guys, see you in the next one.